hopefully by now. So we're going to start this presentation off with a little bit of the story. But before I actually start it, I just want to bring your attention to the fact that it is possible for something as boring as a data set like this to trigger the discovery of multiple billions of dollars in illegal tax sheltering in the Canadian charity sector. This actually happened from like a single mouse click to click on sort. And a colleague of ours, some of you might know of him, his name is David East. He basically blogged about this story back in 2009. It actually started in 2007. Where a colleague of his who worked in the charity sector had to do an analysis on all the charitable organizations in Toronto. So he went ahead and did the access to information thing. He got his hands on a whole bunch of tax forms, put all the data into an Excel spreadsheet. And before actually doing the consulting work that he was actually hired to do, he decided on a lark to just click sort and see which organization was raising the most money. And it turned out that even though most people are aware that the United Way is the charity that raises a ton of money and has a huge presence in Canada, it wasn't first. It wasn't even second on the list. It was third. And it turned out that 4 out of the top 15 organizations that were listed at the top were ones that this person who worked in the charity sector had never even heard of. Essentially, it was this single sort mouse click that uncovered about $3.2 billion in illegal trafficking, or sorry, not trafficking, illegal trafficking, no, illegal tax sheltering in the Canadian charity sector, which is insane. Like, that is a huge story that can be uncovered if you just know what you're doing. So this is an awesome story, right? But the thing that sucks about it is that it wasn't actually discovered by a journalist. So, like the story, this wasn't broken by a journalist, right? Because it's not a standard technique that you would necessarily go through to start digging for those stories, right? So it's really unfortunate. But the cool thing is if you are data literate and you know what you're doing, then you can find these stories, right? It's a changing landscape. If you are data literate, there is a huge, vast frontier that other people are not exploring in a journalistic way. It's not something that people necessarily will go ahead and do. So that might seem a little bit intimidating. We already just heard someone who said they're really interested in data journalism and they want to get in there, they want to start digging, but it's hard to learn. But the thing is, it's really exciting. It's something new, right? And there's so much potential for experimentation. And if you want to be adventurous, if you want to be a cowboy, you can with your investigation. So you really have a choice to make, right? Like, you can go the standard route and you can take the blue pill. Or sorry, you can take the red pill. You can take the red pill and go back to the way journalism was and just don't worry about the numbers. Don't worry about all that sort of bigger picture bird's eye thinking. Or you can take a little bit of a risk and take the blue pill. The blue pill is cool, right? And get yourself and start looking into stories that other people are generally ignoring or don't even realize exist, right? And it takes a little bit of work. But even the best data journalists out there have a giant challenge in front of them, because the reality is that you can't necessarily just go and put data on, like, the broadcast news. You're never going to see an Excel spreadsheet on the front of the New York Times. Like, it's just not going to happen, right? So we're looking at an example. We're showing you an example here of the Guardian data blog. Some of you, I'm sure many of you, follow this. It's really, they're basically the pioneers of data journalism right now. And it's a beautiful website, and they do incredible things with their data visualization. But even so, as you scroll down, they have their story, and they do great work. And then at the end of it, they give you the data. But you can't really do anything with it. Like, you can keep scrolling, and I guess that's kind of interesting. But you can't, this is read-only. You can't do anything with this statement, right? So then at the very bottom, they're giving you the data in the best way that they can, right? And that's Google Docs. And this is, we like to joke at BuzzData that this is basically where, you can do, don't get me wrong, you can do a lot of stuff with Google Docs, but this essentially is when it comes to trying to make a compelling data story, this is where data goes to die. Because look at it, it's flat, there's no interactive capability. This has actually changed. In actual fact, I don't know if they can show this, it sort of shows to the right.
Just pull it in.
Just pull it in. Oh, you can kind of see A. This actually, there you go. So Google is getting wise to the fact that there should be some kind of socially enabled advantages for the data community to actually talk about data, right? So they go ahead and they give you a little. They let you know that anonymous user 6216 and one other person is looking at this with you in real time. So that's kind of cool. If you were looking at a fresh story, then you would see hundreds of people looking at this at the exact same time as you. That is sort of interesting, except for the fact that you can't do anything about those people. Apparently this actually does have a chat functionality to it, and we had a good time trying to use it, and it comes out pretty much like saying, hey there, anonymous user 6216, what do you think about it? Like you can't, it's not possible. You can't have a meaningful conversation when you don't even know the person's name, right? And when you don't even know who you're reaching out to in the first place. So this really inspired us at BuzzData to start thinking about an environment that doesn't suck for people who work with data, where they can actually talk about it in a group setting and be visible to each other and innovate together publicly. So this is a BuzzData dataset homepage. And we have a lot of features. We can't actually show all of them right now, but we'll get into it. So this is the same story, but the story is kind of divvied up in a way, where you have, first you have an overview. This is something that pretty much no data catalog is actually presenting to people who are interested in open data right now. When you want to go to an open data, you have to basically take a guess at what kind of data you want to start digging around in, and figure out blindly whether there's anything in there that matters to you. So when you actually add this overview area, people who publish their data on here, if it happened to be The Guardian, they can actually add their text and say why it matters. Because data on its own is just, if it doesn't have context and it doesn't have a community around it doing something with it, it's dead, right? So to add to that, so we have context that you can talk about here. We also have that socially enabled aspect here, where people, other users who are interested in the data, can actually start having a real conversation and see each other, right? And each of these people has their own user profile. It's similar to Facebook, or if you're a programmer, similar to GitHub, where you can actually start talking about the data that you're interested in. Moving on, that's not all. That's actually not even close to it at all. But you can keep adding, other people who are interested in this, they can keep adding other information. So first of all, you have you have the overview, and then you can go to the data. So this is the actual data set, which yes, it's bland, but it's on a more colorful interface, and you can see people talking about it. So it's cooler, you think. If you think that you found stuff that relates to this data that is relevant, that other people should know about, you're free to go and add more articles to it. So it's not just a random Google search trying to piece things together on your own. People can put it together. They can start crowdsourcing their efforts, and they can start putting a focus on that data. Last, you can add your visualizations. If you did something cool with this data set, you can go ahead and add it. It's sorted for either chronologically in terms of relevance or in terms of where it came from. And last, if Pete would just click on.
Yes, and then you watch.
Oh, well, I was going to say go to the watchers.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you kind of preempted my cool feature there. But this is the thing that I love the most about BuzzData, is that everybody is able to watch either a data set or a user or a topic that they find interesting. So once you've watched that data set, there's me. You can actually be notified whenever. You gotta be kidding me, man. Anyway, you're watching, number one, this is really cool because you can find other people who are actually interested in the data set that you're interested in, or the topic that you're interested in, or other people that you're interested in. From there, and when it says that it's watching this data set, it essentially means that if anything changes, and data changes all the time, it's constantly revised, it's constantly updated, you're always getting a bigger and better version, you will actually be notified. So whether you're a journalist who's writing a story, or you're a developer who's creating an app, if somebody makes that change to the data set and you need to stay on top of it, you will be immediately notified that something has actually been improved upon. So you don't end up with redundant copies all over the place. We didn't even get close to all the other features that we wanted to show.
Well, you know what? We'll be kind and we'll give you a couple more minutes. Because you have to hold your screen while you
Yeah, I just have to hold my screen while I present. So one of the other cool things that I was trying to mention before is, suppose you're not a technical person, or you're not already a data journalist, but you're kind of interested and you think that you want to start exploring. You don't have to be technical to be on BuzzData. You can make your profile. It's pretty much the same, skill level as using Facebook. So you can go up, and if you don't know what data you're interested in, but you know a topic that you're interested in, you can search for that topic or a person. Like it's like Quora, or a person, or a question.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
If I'm someone who's new to data, like database, is this going to be potentially a great place for me to connect with others who can teach me?
Yeah, because it's no longer, you're not like, I mean, the thing that's great about it is if you want to learn about someone, if you see someone who's participating or interested in the same thing you are, it's not a matter of them being this faceless person who put a comment somewhere and you can see how many likes they have on Discus. You can actually go and say, like, maybe click on Robin. Yeah. You can go and see Robin, right? And you can actually see exactly what data sets they're actually working on. You can see who they're interested in. So there's that social enablement. So you can start getting clues about where to start, who you should start talking to, who might be able to help you, right? And you probably gravitate to the people who just, you can see who they're talking to, you can see how they are. And if they have similar interests, then you can say, hey. So I would say yes, for those reasons. Kind of took me off that train of thought. Okay, and I guess, should we clone something? Let's clone. Okay. So not only can you watch a data set, people might be familiar with this with GitHub, you can clone a data set. So if you are interested in the Guardian's data that they've released, you can clone it and you want to do something interesting to it, or maybe make it better. You can keep your own version, and you will keep that version lineage there so everybody knows where you got it from. So it starts connecting people's data to each other. And from there, you could expand it, and once you've actually made your changes, you could potentially merge your data set with the original publisher, so that you don't end up with, the Guardian has an outdated version, and then you have this other version, and somebody else went and made another version. It streamlines the sort of data innovation material, I guess. The last thing I wanted to say about this is not necessarily from the perspective of a single journalist. It's from the perspective of an editor. You guys have to get out there and actually track what your readers are interested in. And when it comes to data, or if you're a data catalog publisher, when it comes to data, downloads don't tell you anything, right? Like, you can have 1,000 people downloading something, but you don't actually know what they're doing with it. And you don't know if they've gone anywhere with it, or you can't investigate who's doing something cool. And this infrastructure, if you happen to be the Guardian and you put out some data, you are actually making tangible connections with people, and if you want, engaging those people on like a really social level playing field where they can tell you right away improvements that they want to make and ideas that they have about where you can go. So, I mean, essentially, if Google Docs is a place where data goes to die, this is the environment where we're hoping that data can keep living and evolving and growing and becoming a bigger story.